The junior was passing out fruit roll-ups laced with marijuana. And it's not because of a wreck like you might think. We were getting off of this exit right here in Dalton. A police officer went up to the driver's side of this car here with his gun drawn and pulled the driver out of the car. His deputies also chased, actually, if you take a look right here, he's being arrested on the other side of this car. Webb, if you want to come this way, he was in the back of a Marion County sheriff's car. It looks like he is bleeding on his head. My photographer is in the passenger seat. We've been told that they are searching for a suspect here. They'll receive thousands of dollars. They found one of these, a lighter, and had brought some water. This was originally set up as somewhere that evacuees could come to sleep. You can see these mattresses. Fire department says the one redeeming quality about the fuel that spilled is that it floats.
We're standing about 100 feet in the air. That's the max height on this ladder. It's also the height of a 10 to 11 story building.
The effects this has on them. Our car was a little bit wet, but now there's just ice on it. This right here is the story that we spent months investigating about how that practice is affecting addicts in our area. Since our report, these bills, both in Tennessee and Georgia, have gained traction. They would outlaw patient brokering. Pastor Steve Morgan went blind nearly 13 years ago, but he says that's not what brought darkness into his life. Recently, he's led dozens of funerals for people who have overdosed on opioids.
But it certainly makes an impact on you.
What saddens him even more tonight is that he's heard about people out there recruiting addicts for treatment centers just to get a kickback. In some worst-case scenarios, the state of Florida found facilities keeping addicts sick so that they could continue to bill their insurance.
I think it's very unfortunate.
Addict or patient brokering is a practice Tennessee lawmakers say they're learning about for the first time.
When you called me on the phone, quite honestly.
Senator Bo Watson says after seeing News Channel 9's special report last week, he's passionate about a new bill going through the legislature.
You identified a problem in another state and got curious about it and asked us about it. Even though there was legislation already filed, it may not have risen to this level of consciousness.
The bill would make it illegal for drug rehab centers to hire brokers. Bradley County's district attorney says he supports it.
Where there are continued abuses, it would give us an ability to prosecute those.
At its core, this is a consumer protection bill.
So does Morgan.
I think that we need some leverage because the problem is epidemic proportion.
An epidemic these men are trying to make sure doesn't get worse. Morgan says that he's so troubled by the drug epidemic, he's proposing a plan to build a treatment facility in Bradley County. Reporting live in the newsroom, Hannah Lawrence, News Channel 9. Not all lights run on battery. Right now, there's a huge power outage on the East Coast, and right here in our area, there's a school that trains the people our country needs to fix that.
Drive! Drive!
Learning to be a lineman.
We're doing our part to train up the next generation of line workers.
You gotta want to do it. It ain't easy.
Hayden Twiley is committed, though. There's a lot on the line for him.
Great money, great benefits.
The men in the class ahead of Hayden are already getting those. The owner of the Southeast Lineman Training Center says many of his August graduates are in the Carolinas now, helping restore power after Hurricane Florence.
Take everything with you.
It's a job PJ Nardi says will never become obsolete.
Technology is a great thing, but somebody has to install it and maintain it.
Josh Hasnard is one of the instructors here.
Lean out.
He went through this course
Just like that.
17 years ago and just got back from Puerto Rico.
You know, working Hurricane Maria.
The good pay isn't the only incentive to do this job. Hasner said the people he's working to restore electricity for power him.
It's kind of a motivation. You know, that kind of keeps me going to try to, get the power back on.
Twiley can only imagine at this point.
It's gonna be tough.
But when he graduates,
Come to the ground.
whether another storm comes or help is still needed in the area Florence hit.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
The owner of the lineman school says it costs about $15,000 to complete the entire course. However, working a storm like Florence would allow them to pay that back very quickly. Reporting in Trenton, Hannah Lawrence, News Channel 9. The employees were called in to help during the chaos after the crash. They blamed Durham for the heartbreaking moments they spent forced not to tell their parents if their children were among the survivors of the crash or the lives lost. 2 new lawsuits reveal the chaos behind the scenes as dozens of elementary students flooded this hospital and Woodmore Elementary's campus. The school's secretary, Elisa Bibbs, at the center of one of those suits.
I didn't know what to do with the emotions that I was feeling.
We first talked to Bibbs a couple of weeks ago about Durham's broken promise to pay for her counseling. Bibbs' lawsuit says she was forced to face parents at the school that night, knowing if their child was alive or not. But she was instructed not to tell them the truth.
I went through stages of rage, helplessness.
While Bibbs attempted to calm parents here, Ronnie Burke says another lawsuit filed today tells the story of her coworker, a teacher at Woodmore. She was asked to come into the hospital that night.
She was identifying the injured children. Some of the other children, pictures were shown to her. They were so badly injured she couldn't identify them.
Same story though. Burke says medical staff also told her not to tell parents their child's fate. At one point, the lawsuit says she collapsed because of her emotional distress and ended up in the emergency room herself.
She was getting down on her knees and praying and crying with parents.
Mitzi Nash waited for hours that night to find out what happened to her daughter Zoe.
They kept telling me that they don't know what Zoe is, they don't know what Zoe is.
Nash still hurts thinking about the moment she finally found out the truth about Zoe. The 9-year-old died at the scene.
She was basically my best friend, and I miss everything about her.
Burke says there are other employees trying to decide if they want to file a suit. He says they're worried about their jobs and the personal information the defendants will have access to if they take legal action.